fans, to episode 2 of the Steel Show for the 2021 season. Apologies for not having an episode after the Rocky Mountain game. I unfortunately had to quarantine and stay away from the facility, but we're out of that now, and obviously excited to be back in front of you guys. But because we missed that last week, I do want to start this show with taking just a quick brief overview of the Rocky Mountain game. Unfortunate loss in the home opener, and a close one there, but obviously an exciting game, and there was positive and negative. So I'll let you just kind of talk about what you saw from the Rocky game. I'm sure you've kind of put it behind you a little bit already, but if we could just address it real briefly.
Well, I do think, and we'll talk about later, we learned a lot about ourselves in the Rocky game, and also confirmed is that there's a lot of good teams in the Frontier Conference. So Rocky is vastly improved. I think they're going to give people trouble all season long, and the bottom line is I think we let it slip away, Broch.
Mm-hmm.
I think we squandered some opportunities in the red zone. I think we let them off the hook on defense a couple of times, which our defense has not been doing. Let them make timely big plays. The one longer pass down the sideline, and our freshman safety looked back, which you're not supposed to do, and they got it. Looked like it was a block in the back, but disappointing. Those guys know what to do. We just didn't execute at the highest level, and sometimes that's enough to keep you from winning. I was proud of the team. I thought we had a quarterback change, so Jack Rice was dinged up, and so Ryan Hibbs came in and did a great job down the stretch. We got a big stop down the stretch after we scored, so gave us a chance to win the game. So, and I think John Krebs might have been in on that last throw.
Yeah,
and,
tough to see on the film, but it looked like there was
very difficult to see, and those things happen, and there's all sorts of calls that go your way and go against you, and that's my job to manage the officials and try to not let the players get too wound up. But the bottom line is we weren't as sharp as we needed to be in any phase of the game, and so that was disappointing. I think the coaches had to own that. I had to own that. I think what our program's been all about, even from the days when you were here, is the players owned it too, and so I think that's always important early in the season. People talk about Aaron Rodgers, criticize Aaron Rodgers for not making a big deal out of the week 1 loss. But he's absolutely right. There's a lot of games, and the key is to improve. Now, I'm not sure I'd talk exactly like Aaron Rodgers in that context, because every game is so important, every game is meaningful, and we just have a lot of work to do. We value the opportunities to play in front of our home fans.
And a great crowd.
Great crowd, so that was disappointing. But I like our team. I like our guys. The competitiveness from within the team is fantastic, and then the competitiveness on the field, even in the Rocky game, was great.
Yeah.
And so I was proud of that.
So one thing I would give you a chance to address in the Rocky game, and I thought there was quite a bit in the Northern game as well, and want to know how you coach it up, is the penalties. That were pretty highly penalized in the Northern game, and then obviously certainly in the Rocky game, and timely penalties. Thoughts on that, and then how do you kind of coach that up in practice?
Yeah, I think it gets down to fundamentals. So offensive linemen, if it's holding penalties, at some point you do have to coach what's going to get called. And then on the defensive side, defensive holding or pass interference, fairly easy to see. And so again, I'm a believer, and we do that you have to not let guys get away with holding and practice all the time. But that's part of the game too. Holding is part of the game. But the sloppy stuff, the false starts,
special teams penalties,
are always very, very difficult. Love the effort, love those things. So it's a fine line to just say, hey, we're an undisciplined football team. Is that the answer? I don't necessarily think so. Guys are working hard, and they're younger, and it's live and learn, and then there's some phantom penalties out there too, where I look at the film and go,
tough call.
Where was that penalty?
Yeah.
So and that's the referees. I appreciate they work hard, and glad we have them. And there's a shortage of referees. We need good referees out there. But it's not their fault. They're doing the best they can. And
they don't win or lose a game.
Correct.
No matter what.
So we do address it, but it's more by position group, and then it's making sure we don't lose our minds out there and have stupid penalties. And I don't think that's the case for the Yields.
Yeah, good. So moving on, then you go into a bye week, which is always tough to go into a bye week off of a loss, but you do get double the amount of time to address some things and work on some things, and so talk about how you felt like what your program got out of that bye week and how you guys can use that going into this next
Yeah, somebody
season.
mentioned to me after the game this past Saturday that we're 7-0 coming off bye weeks, the last 7 bye weeks.
I didn't know that.
Done, so we're doing something right,
Mm-hmm.
but really it's a very simple formula. We tend to get back to basics,
Mm-hmm.
Fundamentals, get a lot of guys involved, get our guys healthy, work really hard on the basic things that we think are going to show up in the film. We aren't trying to put in a whole bunch of new plays.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't trying to put in a whole new defense. We believe in our system that offensively, defensively, special teams, they're built to have variety from week to week. And but we got back to fundamentals. I thought the bye week was solid. But then the week after the bye week, so the Southern Oregon week, I thought was one of our best weeks of practices that we've ever had. And so I thought we made a lot of improvement. The bye week and then the week of the Southern game, I thought we really made some strides as a football team. And some of that is, you and I have talked about this before, the reason that we're better is we got more quality players, not necessarily in the starting group, but in the 2s and 3s and all those guys. So they are just better quality guys. They're hungry. They understand their role. These guys are enthusiastic on scout teams. And so we've actually been able to kind of double our productivity, in practice. So that I think showed up on Saturday. And Thursday, we're just practicing better. So the offensive staff I could speak to most particularly, they were fantastic and challenged kind of our offense versus, just trying to have a perfect Thursday, which is great, but sometimes it's not at all like a game, rather than just try to give them the answer, so to speak, and have it be clean and fresh and build confidence, which a lot of people believe in. I believe in what's going to help us on Saturday when we're playing a diverse defense with some really good players. Southern had some really, really good players, and I think we did that on Thursday. There was a number of mistakes, but I think they were mistakes that actually helped us. Sometimes mid-game, it's harder to make a change than it is on a Wednesday evening or Thursday.
And you hardly make changes in the middle of the game. I mean, they talk about halftime adjustments, and you can do small things, but the game plan's the game plan. And once we blow the whistle on
you
the
can
first
adjust
play,
the
we gotta
play
go.
calls, but the more nuts and bolts of it is what I'm talking about. And then defensively, I thought we had a fantastic plan all the way through. I work with the offensive scout team against our defense all week, and I thought they executed to a T. I thought the coaches, the guys on defense knew exactly what Southern was going to do. So again, I believe for our coaches to be great teachers, great students, and to be studious in the way they approach the game, because that's the way I want our players to be too. I want them to study the game, love the game, take the coaching, interact with the coaching, interact with one another. And I think when you got players coaching each other, then you really have something going on.
So then, speaking specifically on the Southern game and giving yourself a chance to talk about a few players, and you can highlight some guys who you feel like have really stepped up really in the first 3 games. Starting on defense, you got a few real leaders, so would love to hear you just touch on a Keegan McCoy and a Dylan Martinez in your front 7, and then whoever else you maybe want to touch on.
Oh yeah, having Keegan is unbelievable. We've been able to move him back to defensive end because we got some guys healthy, Vince Seth and Ryan Seth in the middle, so we have 4 or 5 defensive tackles that are playing well. Brad Cushman from Valley View High School is having a whale of a year as a freshman, and Tanner Sackman and TJ Seguritan. So these guys are really playing some great football. So that's awesome. So we moved Keegan to the outside, so he's a little bit of a dynamic threat in the pass rush game, and he can run from sideline to sideline. So just having him out there gives guys a lot of confidence. And Miles Maupin is really starting to play well. We just got a lot of guys contributing. Cole Schmitz, another one from Walla Walla, Washington. I think he's got a 6.2 GPA or something like that. So, but he's one of those guys. But he's also, and this doesn't always translate. We have a lot of good students on the team, but Cole is a very intuitive football player too. And so, not the biggest guy out there, but he's always in the right place. So if we have a bunch of those guys always in the right place, our Keegan McCoys, Dylan Martinez, Tayson Harden might be 3 of the best players in the NAIA right now. So those guys have all played fantastic. And then in the secondary, we have a bunch of guys playing quite well. Dorian Harden, Tayson's brother, who's as good a corner as I think as we've ever had. Isaiah Abdul is playing great at our field corner, so he's got a man up on that guy.
He's just the consummate cover corner that just does a good job.
He's fast, he's deceptively tough, a good tackler, loves to play. That's the great thing about Isaiah Abdul and Dorian Harden. They love to play the game, love to talk trash.
Oh yeah, but that's corner.
That's
what you should. That's what you want out of corner spot too. I mean, in my opinion, you got to have guys that are confident, feel like they can win a one-on-one matchup every time. They're going to be the aggressive one because they don't know where the receiver's going. So I think they have to have a level of confidence that I'm a better player than you.
And in the rare situation where they do get beat, because there's great players, great throwers, great receivers, they got to have short memories and get right back on it. And then Jacob Badabanga plays any one of our 3 safety positions, and he's just steady. He's a leader. He's a communicator. He's there's something about him that when he's on the field, everything's okay, and people are always taking shots at him, but I don't think he's been beaten yet. I mean, he's just again, he's like one of those guys that's not 1 step or 2 steps ahead. He's like 3 steps ahead of the rest of the party. So he's great. Hayden Dondero got in last week, started and played awesome at free safety. So a lot of great contributors on the defensive side. So it's really fun to see.
So moving on to the offensive side of the ball, first just as an offense as a whole, because this is so important on any offense for anyone at a high level, college, NFL. What do you feel like, through the first 3 games, maybe what your strength is of your offense or what your identity is right now on offense?
Well, I think our identity is that we've been able to run the ball, and we feel like we have one of the best running backs that we've ever had. Nick Calzaretti's had a great career, and we have to find ways for him to be successful. We've added the fly sweep stuff, which just gets defenses playing a little bit more sideline to sideline. We feel in past years that people just packed in the box and it was going to be, and they made it difficult for us. And we learned that in the spring season with our young offensive line that are now a whole 6 months older, but those guys have gotten strong. So I think the offensive line may be the biggest improvement area. And it helps that Garrett Rayberg is back at left tackle, and he's a great player. One of the best offensive linemen that we've had already, and this is only his second year, but he's capable of blocking anybody. He's smart, he's conscientious, all those things. And that sometimes you take one guy out of a group of 5, and it affects all 5. So again, in the spring, Garrett wasn't playing as he was healing up and resting up, which was a great choice. He had a couple minor surgery things to get done, and so he's back full strength, which really helps us. But in the spring, we had to move Ryan Halford from right tackle to left tackle, and we kind of move things around. So it just shakes things up a little bit. And so I gained a new appreciation for that. So having a steady Eddie at left tackle is very, very helpful. Braden Bale, our center, is playing great football. We play some very, very good defenses that have multiple fronts, multiple blitzes. Southern was like that, and he's getting us in the right calls and all those things, both in the run game and the protection game. And then we're pretty solid. We got a lot of very good players at tight end, some backup running backs. We're trying to run some fly sweep stuff, like I said.
And obviously getting a ton of production out of your receivers down the field.
Yeah, we have a little bit of speed. Hunter Juarez is the most obvious one, and then Isaiah Veal had a big game. But the guy that's standing out is number 1 out there, Jake Nadley, who's making some big catches. He's a very smart player, and really, really doing some nice things. So that's fun to see some guys really stepping up.
And then, finishing up, obviously Yotes fans have seen 2 quarterbacks in there for the Yotes, making plays and contributing. So you got a lot out of both guys, really. So just wanted to give you a chance to address, kind of the play and how you've evaluated both those guys and what you think you're getting out of those guys.
Well, awesome, because and it's never easy. Somehow quarterback is different than every other position, and Jack Rice has been our starter, and he's had a couple of downs, but I think he's played really, really well. We talked last time, about his competitiveness, and he's played great. He played fantastic on Saturday, 8 out of 10, moved the team, ran well, just did some fantastic things. But Ryan Hibbs in the Rocky Mountain game came in and gave us a spark when when we took Jack out. Thought he just had a little rib injury, so nothing serious. But Ryan Hibbs has played well all camp. There wasn't that big a difference, so I decided, and it's all my decision. I believe in that the head coach has to make those decisions. Sometimes I need our quarterback coach to coach the quarterbacks and get them ready.
The whole room. You got to coach the whole room.
And then get ready for the game and calling plays and all that sort of thing. So this is my decision, and I chuckle sometimes in this sense that I wouldn't have liked it if I was a player, just because you want to be in there all the time. But I do feel like it's the best thing for the football team right now to have both those guys ready, pushing each other. There's not a set formula when one's going to come in or one's going to go out. I was thrilled that they were both very successful. I think the world of Jack Rice. I think he's a great competitor. I think he's just going to get better and better and better and really cause problems for teams. And Ryan Hibbs may be the best drop back passer we've ever had in the program. And so they both do things, and we don't really change the offense for it. We just, there's enough variety in the offense now where we don't have to change a whole lot. I think Ryan Hibbs showed that he's athletic enough to do some things on his feet.
Still makes a couple plays on his feet, be a threat.
He's very good in the pocket. He makes good decisions, and he's worked hard on his mechanics, which has made him a very accurate thrower. And Jack is making strides as well, and then he adds a little bit of the dynamic of running the ball. But the big things are we can't turn the ball over, we got to move the team, we got to handle the ball, which I'm big on, ball security, and we're a high risk offense in a way because we run the option on offense,
a lot of
on the run game. So there's a lot of things with the running backs and now with the receivers on the fly motion stuff. So we've got to pay attention to that. There's catching the snap, putting it in there. Sometimes we're faking, throwing. So these guys are. I think Ryan Hibbs is still a very young player. Jack's relatively new to our system. They're young guys. So my thought is, I need to get the most out of these guys that I can. Kinda, and this is the hard part because I'm a human being too. I like to be liked and all that sort of thing. But sometimes there's unpopular things where they feel like, well, if I was in the whole time, we really would have lit them up, and I wouldn't be happy if they didn't think that way. So they're upset, but if they're working hard in practice, which they did this morning already, then I'm pleased. And we'll just play it game by game and see how it goes. For now, Jack Rice is still the starter, but Ryan Hibbs will play.
All right, Coach. So putting that, we got the Rocky game bye week and Southern to bed. Sitting at 2-1 and everything in front of you, especially with Rocky dropping a game to Montana Tech this weekend, and some movement around the league. And so, like I said, everything's in front of you guys. Huge game at Eastern Oregon. Don't have to talk to the fans about this. This is the rivalry week. This is the biggest week of the season, period, no matter what. It's been heightened because of obviously Eastern Oregon's success, this year and where they're at in the top 25 polls. So huge opportunity this week. Most fun week of the year. I know I'll be in LeGrand. But you've been able to watch Eastern for a couple days on film now. What stands out to you right away?
Well, they're really good in most every phase of the game. I think they're the best team in the conference as it stands right now, and they've improved since the spring, and so Coach Camp does a great job getting them ready. Their defensive coordinator has been there for over maybe a couple years now, and he is doing some great stuff on defense. So they have Chase Van Wyck. number 41. Seems like he's been there about 10 years, but he's one of the best players in the country. So he's very, very difficult to block. They found ways to accentuate his efforts, and then the front. They mix up the fronts. They make it tough to run the ball, and we were able to hit some big plays on them, and we hope maybe that can happen again. But they seem to be better in that regard too. So they completely shut down Carroll College last week.
Yeah, they did.
And so.
On the road.
And they did pretty darn good job against Montana Western, who was thought to be the best offensive team in the conference.
Nice
so they are they're very, very good on defense. We have a lot of respect for what they're doing, and we're going to have to work hard to probably drive the ball, and which is hard against that front and that defense. So again, hats off to Eastern Oregon. I think we're putting together a good plan, but that's what we do, and that's the challenge of college football. I agree with you. I think this is the top game in the NAIA. I think it's as good as any game as you'll see on TV. It's that good. Eastern Oregon might be an elite team in the country, and we take seriously our games with Eastern Oregon.
Yeah.
So they're great to compete against. The LeGrand facility, beautiful setting over there, and
it's a great trip to make here in college football.
Yeah, my favorite place on earth is North Powder High School, where we do our walkthrough on Friday afternoon. So, and then offensively, it all goes through their quarterback. So Kai Quinn, again, I think Coach Jewell, our defensive coordinator, was saying this is the 9th time we'll play against Kai Quinn. That's not normal in college football.
Never. No, of course.
So we play them twice every year, and then he gets the extra year. So 9 times we face this guy, and we beat him a few of those times. But he's very, very good. Runner, thrower, leader, spark. Seems like you're never ever have a game in hand. With Kai Quinn on the other side.
And it's always just so tough in college football. I always said dangerous teams, those teams who have good, very veteran quarterbacks, especially at home, it's just going to be a challenge no matter what is around them, because they'll be able to figure out a way to usually get things going for their offense.
Right. My old college coach, Jim Soger, Hall of Fame, died way too young, and Bill Walsh were in agreement on this, that you win with experience at the quarterback position. So back to our situation, we don't have a lot of experience at the quarterback position, so I'm using that 2-quarterback thing, but that's not going to work forever. But they've had the luxury of Kai Quinn as a freshman and a sophomore, and a junior and a senior, and now a super senior. So they are just rolling. They are doing some great stuff. They got a nice cadre of receivers, some good running backs. They lost a couple of linemen up front, but gosh, they do a great job. They got some big old boys up there, and so they
play physical.
They're doing some great stuff. So they're really, really going to be tough. But I like our chances. Our guys will be excited to play against Eastern Oregon. As I remember some of your best games were against Eastern Oregon, and it's just one of those weeks. We aren't quite there yet emotionally. We're just learning the front and all that. In fact, you probably got to come talk to the team one of these days. Thursday night would be a good night.
Okay.
But again, just to learn how serious this rivalry is, and part of it is we know they take this rivalry seriously. So they're getting ready. They aren't happy with as many times as we've been able to eke a game out here and there from them. So. I think it's going to be a great game. So I hope a bunch of fans will come over too. So we got our hands full stopping them. We got our hands full moving the ball and scoring points. And I think that's kind of the key to the game. We have to score some points and make them maybe a little bit more one-dimensional on offense.
Absolutely. Well, great. Well, Yost fans, you kind of hear some of the keys of the game and the big players for Eastern Oregon. We appreciate you guys tuning in this week. Like Coach said, make the quick trip out to LeGrand. It's a great atmosphere there. They got their own beer garden, much like C of I. I know I'll be at Bud Jackman's getting lunch beforehand and watching a little bit of Boise State football as well. And so we're excited to see you guys in LeGrand, and tune in next week.